It was a warm Saturday morning in early spring when Ethan Clark first felt that everything was going according to plan. The sun streamed through the massive windows of his downtown penthouse, casting a soft golden glow over the sleek and modern furnishings of his home. The city below looked like a postcard, busy streets full of cars and people, the hum of life starting its day. Ethan stood at the windows for a moment, watching it all, feeling as though he was on top of the world. He had worked tirelessly for years to build his life, and he'd succeeded. He had everything he ever wanted, a thriving career, a beautiful home, and, most importantly, his beautiful wife, Amanda. Ethan had always considered himself lucky. He and Amanda had been married for 5 years, and together, they had created a life that many would envy. Their story had been perfect from the beginning. They had met at a work event 7 years ago. It was one of those moments that felt like fate. The instant their eyes met, Ethan knew. From that day forward, they had been inseparable. Their relationship was everything they both dreamed of, filled with love, mutual respect, and a connection that seemed unbreakable. Every day, Ethan would come home to the warm embrace of his wife, and in return, he would give her the world. Together, they built a life full of shared experiences, vacations in beautiful destinations, romantic dinners, quiet nights at home watching their favorite shows. Amanda was his best friend, his confidant, his partner in everything. For Ethan, the love they shared felt like a dream, one he never wanted to wake from. But like many dreams, sometimes the waking is sudden and jarring. One evening, after a long, grueling business trip, Ethan returned home, eager to see Amanda. He had been away for 3 days, and although the work trip had been a success, he couldn't wait to hold her, to feel that connection again. He'd missed her in a way he hadn't anticipated. But when he walked through the door, something didn't feel right. The apartment, usually filled with the hum of life and the sound of Amanda moving around, was eerily quiet. Ethan called out for her. "Amanda?" "I'm in here," came her soft reply from the living room. Her voice was distant, flat, even. Ethan's stomach twisted. Something was wrong. He dropped his suitcase by the door and walked toward the living room. Amanda was sitting on the couch, her eyes fixed on her phone, a slight frown on her face. This wasn't the reunion he had envisioned. "Hey," Ethan said, trying to sound casual as he moved closer. "How's it going?" Amanda didn't immediately look up. She responded quietly, almost dismissively. "Hey, Ethan. I'm good." Ethan's concern deepened. She seemed off. Her usual energy was gone, replaced with a palpable distance. She wasn't smiling like she usually did when he came home after a trip, and that subtle change made him uneasy. "Are you sure you're okay?" he asked, sitting down beside her. Amanda looked at him now, but her eyes weren't the eyes he knew. There was a weight behind them, a sadness that immediately unsettled him. She opened her mouth as though she wanted to say something but hesitated, her lips trembling. "Ethan, there's something I need to tell you," she finally said, her voice thick with emotion. Ethan's heart raced. "What is this?" he wondered. The unease he'd been feeling intensified as she spoke. He braced himself for whatever was coming. "I've been seeing someone else," Amanda said, the words barely above a whisper. The shock hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. His world seemed to freeze for a moment. He stared at Amanda, unsure if he had heard her right. No, this isn't happening. This can't be happening." His breath came in shallow gasps as he tried to process her confession. "What?" he managed to choke out. His voice was hoarse, thick with disbelief. "I'm so sorry, Ethan," she continued, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I never wanted to hurt you. I don't know how to explain it. It just happened." The room felt like it was closing in on him. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, to force the truth out of her. But instead, he found himself unable to speak. All he could do was sit there, his mind spinning, searching for some kind of explanation. "Who is he?" Ethan finally asked, his voice raw with pain. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. Amanda wiped her eyes and looked at the floor. "His name is Noah," she said in a whisper. "I never meant for it to go this far. It wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. I lost myself for a while, Ethan. I didn't know how to stop it. I never meant for you to find out like this." Ethan felt the weight of her words crashing over him, one after another. The person he had trusted most in the world, the one person who had meant everything to him, had betrayed him in the worst way possible. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, none of them coherent. How long has this been going on? Why didn't I see it? Was I blind? How long? He asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. Amanda hesitated, clearly struggling with her shame. 6 months, she confessed, her voice breaking. "I am so sorry. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please, Ethan, I'm begging you. Please don't hate me." The pain in her voice tore at Ethan's heart, but the anger and confusion were stronger. How could she do this to him? To their life together? 6 months? The very idea of it made his stomach churn. The images of their life, of all their memories, now felt tainted. Had she been lying to me all this time? Was every word we ever shared just a mask for what she was really feeling? I can't talk to you right now," Ethan said, his voice trembling with emotion. He stood up and grabbed his jacket, not knowing where he was going, but needing to leave. He had to get out, to breathe, to think. Amanda called after him, but he couldn't bear to listen. He walked out the door, unable to look back. He didn't know where to go, but the city felt like the only place he could escape to. The city that had once felt like a symbol of his success, now felt like a suffocating prison. Ethan wandered aimlessly, his thoughts a whirlwind of anger, confusion, and despair. How could this happen? How could I not have seen the signs? The following days were a blur of emotions. Ethan couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time he closed his eyes, the image of Amanda and Noah played in his mind like a loop. He'd never felt such pain in his life, and yet, the anger was just as intense. He couldn't stop replaying every moment of their marriage in his head. Had he been blind to the signs? Was I not enough for her? Amanda reached out every day, sending messages and calling, apologizing over and over again. Each time, Ethan would briefly consider answering, but then he'd put his phone down and walk away. He was torn between his desire to confront her and his overwhelming need to escape the truth. But despite everything, a small part of him, hidden beneath the anger and hurt, wanted to believe that Amanda was still the woman he had married, the woman he had loved for so long. Deep down, he knew that there was more to this story, that this wasn't just about a mistake. It was about something deeper, something that needed to be addressed. Amanda begged for his forgiveness. She reached out to him in every way she knew how, text messages, emails, phone calls. Each time, her words were full of remorse, regret, and guilt. Slowly, her actions began to match her words. She suggested they go to therapy together, work on their relationship. She promised to take accountability, to show him the woman she truly was. She admitted that her affair with Noah had been a result of her own emotional struggles, of feeling disconnected from herself and from Ethan. It wasn't easy for Ethan. Each day was a battle. The anger simmered beneath the surface, but he realized that he didn't want to live in constant pain. Could he forgive her? Could he trust her again? The thought of moving forward with her seemed impossible, yet the thought of leaving her behind, leaving everything they had built, felt equally impossible. Weeks turned into months, and Ethan and Amanda began to rebuild their relationship, piece by piece. It wasn't easy, and there were days when Ethan would catch himself questioning everything. But Amanda was consistent in her efforts. She never wavered in her desire to make things right. They attended therapy together, talked openly about their feelings, and slowly but surely, Amanda began to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. But it wasn't just Amanda who was changing. Ethan, too, began to grow in ways he hadn't expected. He found himself learning to forgive, not just for her sake, but for his own. Holding on to anger and resentment was only weighing him down. Slowly, the pain of betrayal began to lose its grip on him. It was on a quiet evening, months after Amanda's confession, when Ethan realized that he was ready to move forward. He wasn't completely healed, but the darkness that had clouded his mind for so long was starting to lift. Amanda was no longer the woman who had betrayed him, she was the woman who was trying, and succeeding, in becoming the partner he had always dreamed of. And he, too, was trying to be the man she needed. "I'm not saying everything is perfect," Ethan said to Amanda one evening, his voice steady but vulnerable. "But I think we can move forward. I think we can build something new from this." Amanda's eyes filled with tears, but this time, they were tears of hope. "I'll spend the rest of my life showing you that I can be the woman you deserve," she said, her voice full of sincerity. And in that moment, Ethan believed her. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but the foundation they had built together was stronger than ever. They had both learned that love wasn't about perfection, it was about growth, trust, and forgiveness. To all of you watching, have you ever been in a situation where trust was broken? How did you handle it? Did you choose to forgive or walk away? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories of love, loss, and redemption. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, second chances are hard, but they can lead to unexpected growth and strength. Life is never perfect, but sometimes, it's worth fighting for.